This is chapter 9, verse 31. And its English translation is, they take their doctors of law and their monks for lords besides Allah, and also Messiah, son of Mary. And they were enjoined that they should serve one God only. There is no God but He. Be He glorified from what they set up with Him. The next verse is from chapter 29 and it's verse 17. You only worship idols besides Allah and you invent a lie. Surely they whom you serve besides Allah control no sustenance for you. So seek sustenance from Allah and serve Him and be grateful to Him. To Him you will be brought back. One great reform that Islam brought was that it said to human beings that they are not subservient to anything in the universe. They are actually masters of whatever exists here on earth and in the rest of the heavens. Before Islam, if people saw anything and they could not protect themselves against it, or it was out of the ordinary and they could not explain, they immediately started worshipping it. For example, volcanoes used to be worshipped. Girls used to be sacrificed to appease the angry god, because it was felt that something wrong had been done and that had made the fire god angry, and he was making his anger known. And the gift of a young girl would appease the god. There were many other things. In Saudi Arabia, when they would find some rock or a tree which had a strange shape, they would take it and many times they'll put it in the Kaaba. And they'll give it a name and they'll start worshipping it. Just because that tree or generally these rocks and things, they had a strange shape. But apart from these inanimate bodies, people also worshipped human beings in one way or another. They worshipped, the Egyptians, for example, worshipped priests in their temples. Again, in Hinduism, the highest caste is Brahman, and they are the priests. And the list goes on. And this is why God sent revelation, one after another, one book, one prophet, another book, another prophet, to each tribe to say to them that you are above all of these things. There is only one God. Volcanoes are not gods. There is no fire god. There is no sun god. These are things you can use. You can use their properties. You can overcome any harm that they might do. For example, if you are in the sun too much and your skin doesn't have the right pigmentation, then you'll get sunburn, you may get skin cancer, etc. And you can protect yourself against that. One easy way is not to go out in the sun too much, but you can buy these creams and factor this and factor that and so on. And although man has given up worshipping a lot of these things, they still continue to worship their leaders, particularly their religious leaders. And these leaders, they create an atmosphere in the society which constrains your thinking. And if your thinking is constrained, you will not make any progress. All great scientific achievements, all great religious reforms are based on the fact that someone said that the accepted doctrine, accepted thinking was wrong. And I will mention a few names here. There was, and actually these are good examples. There was a mathematician in India, he was a shipping clerk in Bombay, and he read a book, a basic book on geometry and so on, and algebra. And he came to the conclusion that that was nonsense. So he wrote his own paper, and he sent it to, I think, 3 universities, I think 2 in England and 1 in America, or something like that. And no one took any notice of his papers. They probably just binned them, because they were full of revolutionary ideas. They were full of challenges to the accepted doctrines. But there was one who read this paper. His name was Hardy. I think he was at Cambridge. And he read this paper and he said, well, you know, this is very interesting. He wrote back to Ramanujan, this is very interesting, but why do you say that? And because, and I forget the name of the great Greek mathematician that Hardy mentioned, he says that this is impossible. But because Ramanujan had not been exposed to these people, and his mind and thinking hadn't been constrained by reverence and great respect for them, that, oh, he said that, it can't be challenged. He wrote back and he said, who's this guy? I don't know him. He says that, I think he's wrong, I said this. He came over, unfortunately, he died at a very young age, and he did a lot of remarkable work in mathematics. But as I said, he died. But the point was, his mind, his thinking wasn't constrained by saying, so-and-so is a great mathematician, I have this idea which contradicts him, so I mustn't say that, because I'm bound to be wrong. He's a greater man than I am. If you say that, you are worshipping that person. You are worshipping a human being. That person may be great in learning. He may have done a lot of research and so on, but it does not mean to say that he is above being challenged. And that applies to all human endeavor. If Einstein hadn't thought, well, was Newton really right? Let me check this. And started off from the point of view that say, well, let's assume that he was wrong and see what will happen. He wouldn't have come up with his theories. And we'd still be stuck with Newtonian classical mechanics, although some of his ideas and things led to things which are not necessarily proved to be good for humanity. E equal mc squared leading to nuclear power and so on has been beneficial in one way and not beneficial in others. But that is a different story, because that depends on how you decide to use an idea. But the point is, he came up with these ideas because he challenged accepted physics. And then we had the invention of radar during the Second World War. And it was again a weatherman. He came up with this idea. He said, oh, well, you know, when you throw something, It strikes something and comes back. It's obvious, isn't it? You look in the mirror, and light comes back, enters your eyes, and you see your image. So he said, obviously, we can't have a mirror or thousands of mirrors all around the coast of UK looking for German planes, but surely we can use some part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And who laughed at him? Great professors at great universities. He said, this man's an idiot. Even when he showed it could be done, they said, well, by the time your equipment showed it, we could actually see the plane with our own eyes. We could hear the plane. But the point is that because he was challenging the accepted doctrine that these people were putting forward was to defend Britain against Germany, we should not be inventing defensive weapons, we should be inventing offensive weapons. They wanted a death ray which went around and killed people and what have you. But look at it. It was through his work that radar was invented. It was through his work that we now have air traffic control. It's through his work that we have microwave ovens. All because he accepted that he was going to have difficulty and he was going to fight these people, and these people were the doctors of law and science, which society held in high esteem and revered greatly. John Nash was another person. If you've seen the film, A Beautiful Mind, I think it's called, he would not even attend classes. Why? He was asked, we've given you a scholarship to come and study at Harvard and you don't even come to classes. And he said, because I want to do original thinking. And if I come to your classes, you'll tell me this is the truth, that this can't be challenged. And that will constrain my thinking. If I come up with an idea that's against what you tell me is the truth, I'd think, nah. All these great people, they say this is the truth. And I'm saying it's not. I'm coming up with something different. So he even refused to attend classes for this reason. And this is the difficulty in all subjects, in all topics, whether it's physics or mathematics or engineering or whatever it is. And it's the same problem in religion. People have certain set ideas. Why do they have those ideas? Obviously they cannot read the Holy Quran. Well, they can read the Holy Quran, but actually understand its language, because most people just learn to read the words and they don't actually know the language. But because a Maulana, some religious leader, or someone says something, they accept that that is what the Holy Quran says. And then when someone stands up and say, no, that's not true, the Holy Quran doesn't say that, then what do they say? They go running back to their religious leaders. They do not go to the Holy Quran. They do not try and understand the Holy Quran. They do not try and find out, well, let's see what the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon whom the Holy Quran was revealed, how did he understand it? They go to their Maulvi. And someone said this to me. I showed him a verse of the Holy Quran which says, for so long as he is alive, as they are alive, we have made it a duty of Jesus and his mother to say their prayer and give charity. Well, I said, if Jesus is up in heavens, maybe he's saying his prayers, but who is he giving charity to? To the angels? to the other holy and good people who are in heavens? And how is he paying that charity? And another verse of the Holy Quran, "Oh Jesus, I'll cause you to die." And he listened to all these things. And he said, what you're saying seems very rational and logical. But I will not believe until my Maulvi Sahib tells me. I will not believe until my Maulvi Sahib tells me. So what are you doing? You're worshipping that individual more than God. In fact, you're not worshipping God, you're worshipping that individual. Because what God says you will not believe until Maulvi Sahib authenticates that. And talking about idols, Muslims say we don't worship idols anymore. Yes, we do. We do. Go to India and Pakistan and see. Go to the grave or mausoleum of any saint, any holy personage. Go to Lahore and see Data Ganj Baksh Sahib. I have seen people praying to the grave, saying their namaz, facing towards the grave of Data Sahib. What else is idol worship? That man, he went to Lahore, Hazrat Data Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh. He did great and tremendous work for propagation of Islam. He wrote books. He converted people to Islam. Then he passed away. And it was so long ago that even his body, even his bones must now have turned to dust. And out of affection and so on, and reverence and respect and whatever, people built a great mosque and a mausoleum and with tiles and whatever else you have. How is that grave going to give you anything? What else is it but idol worship, but stone worship? And it happens all over Pakistan and India. I've given you example of Lahore. Go to Rawalpindi, Imambari, go to Ajmer, and the list is endless. People go to Iraq, to where Hazrat Imam Hussain and other members of the Holy Prophet's family are buried, and they pray to those graves. We are in the state that we are in because we are emulating, we've become like those people that the Holy Prophet came to reform. We are doing exactly those things that they did. And this is what God says, that these people who were living around the Holy Prophet Muhammad, they listened more to their rabbis and priests and other religious leaders than the word of God. And God says, well, if you do that, then you believe, you're worshipping them. And for you, they're more important or just as important as God. And if you live with that constrained mentality, you will never change. You will never reform. You will never break that mold that needs to be broken. And the need for that mold to be broken can be seen 24 hours a day. Turn on any news channel. Look at what's happening in any country where Muslims are in a majority. It's uneducated, it's poor, it's backward, there are no facilities there. Why? Why? Because our thinking has become constrained. In political fields we say, oh, the British do this, so we must do that. Oh, sounds like a good idea. Americans do this, so we must do that. Why? They did these things because it suited their societies. You have to come up with solutions for your problems that suit your societies. You don't have to copy others. But unless we stop this habit of saying, he's a Maulana, so I must do exactly whatever he says. Oh, He is an American, I have to do whatever he says. He is whatever, I have to do whatever he says. Why can't we use our own brains? Why can't we engage our own thinking power? Why can't we look to solutions for our problems in the light of the Holy Quran and apply it to the situation and circumstances of the society where we live? And that was the task that Hazrat Masih Maud Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh took upon himself. To jettison all the old thinking and to come up with new thinking and to encourage each Muslim himself to think about what the message of Islam is. And this is why he said, you don't need any imams. People said, why don't we have imams? He said, each one of you should be an imam. We need an imam to perform a nikah. Why? Here is a set of instructions to do the nikah. We need an imam to lead the prayers. Why? All Muslims should be able to lead any prayer. Why can't you lead prayers? And we saw this wonderful spectacle here, that people who were supposed to be doing the khutbah and leading the prayers, they got stuck in a traffic jam, and people who were here, they vanished. Someone got up and led the prayers, someone got up and gave an Eid khutbah. This is how it should be. And until and unless we need to develop this independence from religious, political and other leaders, we will not make any progress.